What's going on, guys? Aco here, and we're about to do a complete team building guide. That is to say, we're going to go down the list and cover each individual character and where they should go on your team. If you've been having trouble trying to decide what character to play, or you weren't sure what position to play characters in, this guide will take care of that for you. We're going to go down each character one by one. I'm going to tell you their strengths and weaknesses and why they should be where they are. There's a whole lot to discuss, so let's go ahead and get right into it. So for the sake of this guide, I've broken the categories down into 5 different groups. The first 3 are the usual suspects, point being the character you start the match off with, mid, or the second character on your team, anchor, the final character. But then I also added support, which is a position that I feel like has sprung up. Now that active tag is a thing, you don't always have to think of your team as 1, 2, and 3. Sometimes you'll see a character in the final spot that you know is not an anchor. The best example of this is one of the most famous and well-known and well-used teams in the game, which is Yasha. He plays Android 17 in the anchor position. But this is not because he's planning to use 17 last. This is because he's planning to get a hit and then tag 17 in early. That's why I call characters in that role support, because they have some sort of reason that they're on the team. Mostly it being that you want to utilize their assist. That's the main reason someone like 17's in the back. But then the other reason is that you're going to get a hit, bring them in, and have them do something special. So that's why I would call a role like that support, and we'll go down the list of what characters fall there. And then flexible is very simple. It's just a character that fits into any role. Any character in the flexible could be a point, mid, anchor, and they do bring support to the team in a variety of ways. So we're going to go down the list one by one until each character fits into one of these categories. I'll also tell you what I consider to be their best assist if you're not too sure what assist to use. I do give a assist recommendation on each character as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our first character, Android 16. 16 I would place in the support category. He is basically what I would consider a textbook support character. He is basically a character that you pick for the assist, that being his B assist. His B assist is so powerful that just having him behind your other characters makes your team stronger. And he also fits well into that position because he has a lot of anti-neutral tools, and his routes are very flexible. They work with just about any assist. So having him in the back, he can kind of run some cleanup as long as he has a little bit of support behind him. So getting a hit with him, tagging him in, or something bad happens to your point and you want to tag him in later, he works in those areas because he's very hard to zone. He does have a command grab. He does have a really good anti-air. And then most importantly, that assist of his is amazing. So I feel that puts him right in that support slot. Next, Android 17. Guess what? He's going right there with 16. Probably the best definition of a support character. 17 is basically one of the ultimate support characters in the entire game. His assist amplifies every character. It's so insanely powerful. It buffs your team just having his assist. His DHC is very, very good. It tracks, it hits everywhere. It sets up other characters very well. It does a lot of damage. He is an absolute active tag monster. If you get any sort of hit with any character and then you active tag into 17, you're going to build a ton of bar. So if you have like a level 5 character on your team, you can start a combo with the level 5, active tag into 17, potentially build your 5 bars, start a super with him, and then level 5. It's really, really crazy. He is basically what I would call a team booster. And that's all on top of just having access to his A assist. And then when he gets on the screen, he's very solid too. He's got great anti-neutral. He's got very good block strings with his Rekka. Very, very good meter build. One of the strongest level 1 supers in the entire game. He's great. Great support character. Android 18. Android 18 is what I would call basically a textbook point character. She has amazing round start options. She can slow the neutral down very, very well. She has the option of either slowing the neutral down or mixing you up, which is a very great combination to have. She works very well with most assists because of the way she has her neutral set up with her barrier and her ability to call 17, which is her own built-in assist. She is a battery, meaning she builds a ton of meter just by being on the screen, and she doesn't really need to spend a lot of meter. And her only weakness is that she does rely on assists a bit at neutral, but even without assists up, her barrier, like I said, does cover most situations. So you got to be very reactive with her neutral, but her neutral is strong, block strings are strong, has a command grab, has a very good amount of meter build, has a very good mix-up potential after her level 3. Her assists are great. Her A assist is great for breaking up people's aggression. B assist is just a very good beam. Overall, she's a great point character. You can put her on in front of a very good mid and a very good anchor or a very good support, and she's going to get the job done for you. Majin 21. The first character I would label as flexible. Majin 21 is basically a perfect all-rounder. She has amazing solo neutral, amazing solo pressure, very high damage, very high meter build, and really, really good assists. I would recommend her A assist, but her B and C are both very good as well. So the reason I wouldn't put her as a straight anchor is just because she does fit those other sections well. If you need a mid, she functions very well as a mid because if you active tag with her, she can get some steals, she can extend very well, she can get a kill, and if you want to put her on point, she doesn't really require a lot of meter or anything to get started. She's got very good round start options and very good neutral with assists behind her, so she's a textbook version of a character that fits just about anywhere. Next is a fan favorite, Mr. Bardock, Mr. Season 1 himself. Bardock, I would say, is a mid. The thing that keeps him out of being point is I feel that he really comes to life once he has meter. He's a character that's fallen off quite a bit in the meta, but he is still very strong. He's got really, really good neutral, and that neutral only becomes better when he has a lot of meter, so that's why I would recommend him as a mid. If you were to bring him in after you built quite a few bars, he is a force to be reckoned with because his neutral becomes pretty scary once he has meter. Not to mention he has a level 2 starter, which is great for getting those kills. He has very, very good block strings. He does have a low 2L, very, very good staggers, has his own plus move. He does hit very hard once you get a hit, and he works very well with pretty much any assist because of the way his neutral and his buttons are set up. So he's a great, great mid character, just not someone I would recommend to start the match off, but to bring him in after an active tag or just a DHC into him, I think is a great option. For his assists, I would recommend A for neutral and B for mix. Next up is Lord Beerus. I would put him in the anchor position. He is a textbook anchor. Insane solo neutral. He can just control the entire map as long as he doesn't have a bad matchup. And even if he does, he still has a lot of options for the neutral. Insane solo zoning. He can chip you to death. Insane solo plus frames, insane solo Oki, insane solo damage. It's just, he can completely play the game by himself, which is why I believe he is one of the game's best anchors. The more meter he has, the more dangerous he is, but even without it, he's still a full threat to be reckoned with. And his assist is incredible. Like, his A assist buffs almost everybody, so you want him in the back so you can take advantage of that A assist. So Beerus, in my opinion, one of the best anchors in the game, and definitely you want to use that A assist. Super Buddy, I would put him as support. At first I considered putting him in the mid section, but I decided on support because he falls into that category very well. His B assist is a very, very good anti-air. It kind of takes that spot of base Goku A, though still not as good as that one, but still pretty good. He has some of the best active tag potential in the game, in my opinion. If you get a hit with any decent point character and then active tag into Super Broly, he's gonna tack on tons of meter and tons of damage, especially if you haven't used your smash you know, or super dash yet. Like if you start to build your route around that idea of I want to get a hit and then bring in you know, Super Brawly, he's gonna do a lot of damage and build a lot of damage. On top of the fact that, yeah, you're taking advantage of his good assist. A lot of good characters, like if you have someone like an 18 who's very dangerous in terms of being close to people, having that anti-air to knock them out of the air and then, you know, get close to, like, you know, put that pressure on them is great. And also, he does need to be powered up, so he is like a meter-hungry character, so that's another reason you would want him in the back. So all these things combined, I think he's a great support. You can put him in the mid position if you want, but I do feel like he's really strong as a support character, and you're going to want to use that B assist. Z Bully. This is a textbook anchor. He has a amazing assist that you're going to want to take advantage of. He can negate neutral completely with his barrier, so he's fine playing the game alone. And when he gets up close to you, he does have a command grab, so his solo pressure is also very strong. Yes, his M's are both negative, but he still has the -2, you know, LL, and he still just has the threat of the command grab at all times. And then you put that together with the barrier and the anti-air grab. He's a force to be reckoned with even alone. His zoning took a bit of a hit, but the fact that you can't zone him or even keep him away from you makes him a very viable anchor. For him, I would definitely recommend the A assist. Next, my buddy, Mr. Ginyu himself. Ginyu is absolutely in the flexible category. That is because it really doesn't matter where you put him. Where you put Ginyu on your team just depends on what do you want out of him. He can be an insanely strong point character if you put the right assist behind him, because his offense is very, you know, steamrollish, so he can get the match started quickly. Or you can keep him in the middle for, you know, active tag to, you know, benefit from his Oki, and, you know, with Ginyu B he can build you meter. Or he can be a reliable anchor because he really doesn't need help anymore. I used to like kind of frown on Ginyu anchor, but now that 5S passes through Ki Blasts, he can 100% play by himself. So he fits into all categories very easily, and obviously, again, with Ginyu B, he is a support character. So definitely flexible. Some of the highest solo damage in the game, some of the best solo Oki in the game, some of the best solo neutral in the game. You know, he can lock you down by himself. The only thing about him is it might be hard to open people up with him, but I mean, with everything else that he's got, it's fine. His meter build, damage, everything else really, you know, makes up for that fact. And recommended for him, I would recommend A, but if you can control the power, or if you have characters that don't need assists to extend with, and if you're looking for good meter build, check out that Ginyu B. Cell I would consider in the support category. I would put him in support because he is really, really good with active tag. If you get any sort of hit, he is a great character to active tag into, build a lot of meter, get a nice knockdown, and then once you get that knockdown, his level 3 is spectacular. It's almost guaranteed to get you a hit. So it's really, really a good idea to have someone up front building the meter and then bring Cell in later so that he can get that level 3 situation. He's also insanely powerful with meter in general. Once he has meter and he has access to perfect attack on the air and in the ground, it's very hard for the opponent to move. He also has very great solo staggers. And his B assist is a pretty damn good assist. It actually bounces people off the wall now, so I feel like he is a very reliable character if you're looking for someone to help buff your team overall. And he's got a level 1 omnidirectional reversal, so he has a lot of really great options to bring to the table, so I would consider him a good support character. Next is a character that had no respect to getting all the respect in the world and has earned him this spot over here in Flexible, and that is Lord Cooler. Cooler pretty much has it all now. Of course, yes, he's got 3H, the GOAT. 3H goes through everything, airborne moves, beams, assists, projectiles, ki blasts, whatever, goes through it all. He can solo mix now with his instant cross-up. He has amazing staggers. His A assist is a very high reaching DP that can buff a lot of characters' offense. He basically fits anywhere. If you want to put him on point and have him, you know, bully at the start of the match, that works. If you want him mid to come in later to clean up, since assists and general zoning don't affect him, that works. And if you want him to be an anchor, again, because assists don't affect him and he can open you up by himself, it all works. So he is definitely a super flexible character who you can put into just about any position that you need. And similarly, Lord Freeza, I'm going to go ahead and put him in that flexible position too. Freeza is a bit of a weird one though, as he's not super strong in any certain area, but he does fit into every area. If you put Frieza point, he can start zoning right away, because the best thing about Frieza is he builds a lot of meter. His neutral is very solo. He doesn't need assist to control the neutral. He can control it completely well by himself against almost every character. As long as you're not one of his bad matchups that negates projectiles, he's gonna control the neutral pretty much exclusively. His stagger game is pretty good because of the way his buttons are set up, and then at the end of the day, he does have his golden form. So it just depends on what you want him to do. So if you want him to start zoning and building meter early on, you can do that. If you want to bring him in later, once you've lost a character and, you know, kind of slow things down so you can, you know, try to mount a comeback, you can do that. And then he does work as an anchor because of his low reliance on assists and his access to, you know, sparking gold form. So although he's not one of the strongest characters around, I do think he counts as a flexible character. And he also has his multitude of assists. His A assist is for anti-airing, his B assist is for tick throws, and then his C assist is one of the best in the game. It is a very fast tracking projectile that hits up high. So he's got a lot of stuff going for him, despite not being the strongest character around. He definitely is pretty malleable if you want to put him on a team. Gogeta Blue. I don't think this needs a lot of explaining. I mean, he is pretty much the paramount of a point character. I mean, he is the point character, basically. Like, he's Mr. Two-Touch. Basically, his entire neutral and block string pressure is 100% based on assists. Like, he has to have assists to even properly end his block string, so that's a major reason he's a point. Also, his neutral is really not the best without assists. Like, he's reliant on just beams and EX kicks, which is not great. But once he has assists, that becomes really, really threatening. Run up 2H call assist becomes a mix-up. So yeah, ultimate, meter build, sets up everyone for active tag, insane damage. He is probably the best point character in the game, and most people use his A assist for the wall bounce. But his B assist is good too. It hits up very high and it comes out very quick, and it is a DP. So one of the best characters in the game, has a lot of options, textbook point character. Ultimate Gohan, also known as the Ultimate Mid. This is a character you basically never ever want on point because of the fact that, you have to put meter into him. Like, he needs meter to do anything. You don't need level 7. I mean, level 7 is the win condition, but at level 3, he becomes a incredibly good character, and then at level 5, he's borderline broken with the addition of reverse beats. Level 3, he gets double air dash. Level 5, he gets reverse beats. And then level 7 is just, I win. So with that whole idea in mind, you want him in the back so that, you can build up meter and then bring him in to, power him up. But he also has some really good assists in his A assist, which is great for neutral and defensive options. And then his B assist gives everybody mix. So he's pretty much like a textbook mid. And the total opposite for Teen Gohan, who is a textbook point. Teen Gohan is incredibly powerful in the neutral space when he has assists behind him. He can play neutral by himself well, but due to the way his ki blasts are angled and the speed of them with the power of his rocket kicks, if he has assists behind him, he pretty much becomes a menace. Like, it becomes very, very hard to stop his neutral. His combos are highly assist dependent as well. But that is fine because if he hits you, he just builds so much meter, like an insane amount of meter, insane amount of corner carry, insane amount of damage. So he is an amazing point character who only benefits from having good mids and anchors behind him. Goku Black. Goku Black I would consider a point. Goku Black, the best thing going for him are two things: his neutral and his block strings. Due to the fact of the heavy buff on his 5S, both his neutral and block strings are very, very strong. Like, he can really contest the neutral really hard and kind of take it over. Also due to the change to his God Slicer being invincible to air attacks, like, it's very, very, very difficult to stop him from just doing whatever he wants to do at neutral. And then it's very easy for him to reset his pressure on your block because of his 5S just being plus. He can literally do button 5S, I'm plus again. Button 5S, you know, teleport. So it's like his block strings are amazing, but he is highly dependent on assists to cover his teleports and different things like that to actually attempt to open you up, because he does still rely on, like, you know, 2 M's and left rights to open people up. But I do think his neutral is very, very solid. Damage can be pretty solid too. He's got a invincible reversal now as well, so he's a pretty decent point character. I wouldn't really put him in any other category, but if you put him out front and you put some strong characters behind him, he definitely functions well on a team. GT Goku. He's basically built to be a mid. He is a power-up character, so he doesn't really reach his full potential until someone dies. So that's why I believe that he should always be mid, because he gets that powered up level 1 and the powered up level 3. And once he gets those, he is pretty much a force to be reckoned with, because he builds a lot of meter, like a ton of meter with his routes. And then once he can dump that meter, those powered up supers do a ton of damage. He doesn't have the A assist anymore, but his B assist is a very reliable assist, and you can get a lot of mileage out of it. Not to mention he still has a very strong stagger game, and he can definitely get some good mix-ups going with the right assists. Next is Goku Blue. I would consider him a trademark point character. His round start options are insane. The odds of you just taking the momentum very early on are super strong. He's one of the hardest characters to contest at round start. He has some very strong anti-neutral tools, as you know, with his teleports. His solo neutral is decent, but it becomes downright insane when you put assists with him. Like, you can literally just do dive kick, call assist, and it's like, boom, I win neutral. And then, of course, once he actually uses assist to get in and start, you know, going for mix-ups with his command grab and multitude of lows, he is a threat to be reckoned with. And then if he actually gets a hit, he deletes health bars. So he checks every box off of being a fantastic point character. And in terms of assists, I would recommend his B assist if you need a good, quick block string, but overall I think his A is superior just due to its amazing tracking and high speed. Keeping the Goku momentum going, SSJ. Basically, I believe point is his only real position now, because he is very similar to Goku Black in the fact that he is neutral man. His greatest strength is that he plays really strong neutral, and then if he gets a hit, he does an insane amount of damage. He doesn't really have the tools to open people up by himself, even though he does have a pretty quick overhead that can catch people off guard. He's 10 times more effective with assists to cover him. So when you take a character that has great neutral and then you put assists behind them, they only become better. So he's the kind of character that I believe should never be in the other two spots, but when you put some strong assists behind him, much like Goku Black, he does become a threat to be reckoned with. And also similar to Goku Black, his A assist is good for the neutral. It's decent for the neutral, and then his B assist is a great, quick, up-close block stun assist. It's very, very fast, very high block stun, gives people a lot of mix. UI Goku, definitely a mid if I ever saw one. He is very, very highly meter dependent, which is why I would never put him on point. He could work if you really wanted him to, but I would just recommend him being mid, because once he has meter, he actually has access to some pretty hard to block scenarios. Like his left-right becomes pretty crazy with meter. Not to mention, you always want to have access to 214H, you know, one of the best reversals in the entire game. He has a level 2 DHC, so if you get a good hit with your point character, you can always bring him into level 2, which is only gonna, you know, almost guarantees you kills. He can slow down the match because he's so defensive, you know, you can't safe jump him. He has, you know, 6H, which is the best thing in the entire game. He has a beam style Ki Blast. He has an anti-air style Ki Blast. He has everything you need to, like, you know, kind of just bring things to a crawl. And then he has some pretty situational assists too. The pillar assist, when paired with certain characters, can really be a nightmare for some opponents. And then his beam assist hits a pretty nice angle even though it's so slow. So I would consider UI a great choice if you're looking for a good mid character to go between your point and your anchor. Rounding out the Gokus, we've got base Goku here. I mean, I don't think I even need to really say that much, as he is the game's premier anchor character. He is the most popular anchor in the game, so I don't think this needs to be explained too much, but in case you don't know, every time a character dies, he gets stronger, and if you get down to anchor, he gets access to Kaioken times 20, which makes his damage output insane. He has very, very strong solo neutral, very, very strong solo pressure, and he has some fantastic assists that point characters can really benefit from, one being a multi-directional wall bounce, the other being a meter build, and then finally he has a beam C. So he is pretty much the textbook of what you would call an anchor character. Gotenks. Gotenks is what you would call a pretty textbook mid as well. Similar to all these other characters, he is very highly meter dependent. He needs meter to do almost anything for his Oki, for his block strings, for his neutral. Super meter dependent, so you're not really going to want him on point unless, you know, you're super confident, but I will say, due to the way his shout cancels work, he can build a lot of meter, but I would say it would be more difficult to get hits with him when you don't have meter. I think it's just better if you put him mid, because a Gotenks coming in with a lot of bars is a huge threat versus a Gotenks with no meter. He just really comes to life when he's got that meter. And then on top of that, he's got some great assists. His B assist is basically like a flying Yamcha assist with even more hit stun. And then Galactic Donut tracks, and then his C is a beam. So it's like, it just benefits your point character to have him in the back because his assists are just so crazy. And then, like I said, when he does have meter, he becomes a threat to be reckoned with. And once he does come in, he sets up other characters very well as one of the best triggers for active tag in the entire game. Next is Hit. Hit definitely falls into the flexible category. Hit is one of those characters where it really does not matter where you place him. If you put him point, he's gonna do what he does, which is slow the match down. Hit is one of those characters that you can't play normally because he is superbly anti-zoning. So even just calling assists at the start of the match is not that effective against him. But then if you build up meter and bring him in later, he is an absolute monster. And then same thing, a limit break hit, especially one with meter, is just an entity. So from any position, he is just going to play basically the same game that he plays no matter what. Like whether he has assists or not, he's gonna do what he does. And then his solo pressure is great. His solo neutral is great, his anti-zoning is great, and then on top of that, his A assist is among the best in the game, fully invincible, easy to convert off of, covers a good distance. He is a great, well-rounded character who you can put in just about any position if you're looking to fill a certain slot on your team. Janemba, the ultimate success story of the game, the rags to riches character. At this stage of the game, he has basically taken the role as the game's best anchor. And yes, I say that very confidently. That is because he really does not need anyone to do anything. He stops you from playing neutral, he stops you from tagging, he stops you from super dashing, he stops you from calling assists, and he does it like more effectively than anyone else. Hit does those things too, but the ways Janemba does them is just insane. Like you calling an assist on Janemba turns the situation away from you. So he's a really jarring character. And then on top of that, his assists are, again, among the best. If you put Janemba A behind any point character, it makes that point character an absolute monster. It is like the ultimate, like, I win neutral assist. It is just so insanely powerful. It's really great for characters who don't have a lot of like mix potential, because the fact that you are just locked in position and you're forced to either super dash or reflect is just, it helps characters open you up without the reliance on like high-low, because there's an extra layer of danger there. So like all those reasons together make him one of the best anchors in the game. If you come down to just a solo Janemba, you definitely have not lost at all. He can open people up by himself. He completely stops neutral. Very, very high damage. He is just ridiculous. A assist for neutral, and then his B assist destroys Ki Blast, and it's good for block strings, and it works also defensively. A and B work as defensive assists, which is one of the most popular things in this game right now. Jiren I would consider a great point character. Similar to these other point characters, one of the best things about him is his neutral. He's got very, very good neutral. He's got a beam style Ki Blast. His 2S is just a menace. Of course, he's got amazing staggers. Staggers only get better when you have assists behind you. It lets you, reset your staggers even more, steal turns even more. Round start counter is very real, especially if you do the Wawa special, which is Jiren combined with Android 17. It becomes very hard to even stop someone from countering, because, you get a counter, call Android 17 to stop the person from 2Hing you. Like, that is an evil combination. He builds a lot of meter with the way his routes are set up, like with the way his re-jump is, and his corner pressure sets up, his corner combos set up active tag very, very well, which is a great example of what a point character should do. His anti-zoning, of course, is very, very strong. So all things considered, he is a great character to put at the start of your team to just get things started. And if you have characters in the back who are, waiting for an active tag or waiting for you to build meter, he is a great option for that, as he kind of takes the pace of the game immediately, because the opponent has to play by your rules, because once Jiren's on the screen, you can never mindlessly call assist because you might get snatched. Kefla. I would consider Kefla a mid, as much like these other mids, she is a character who really only comes to life when she's got a lot of meter. Once she has a lot of meter, her kit opens up. She gets access to, plus moves. She gets access to, wall bounces. She gets access to her Hell Zone. She gets access to a lot of good things once she has meter. She has a great assist. Her A assist is extremely reliable as a projectile assist. She is pretty decent off of an active tag because of the way her knockdowns are set up, her knockdowns into Hell Zone. She does have a good, reliable, high-low that the opponent has to deal with. She has a gapless low. She has really, really good block strings. She's one of the most unreflectable characters in the game. She's a great spark bait character. She's hard to zone. Very, very good Ki Blast, good angle Ki Blast. She's got everything you need. It's just that she's better off when you bring her in a little later into the match. Next up is Kid Buu. This is a definite flexible character. Kid Buu can pretty easily fit into any position. He's got amazing assists. A, B, and C are all great. A, great for block stun. B is very, very good for block stun and just general up-close situations. And then C is a beam style. So he's got great assists. His super sets up just about anyone for Oki is level 1. You can always DHC into his level 1 to get Oki anytime, which makes, a great tool to have for any team. And then overall, it's just his neutral is amazing, and so is his block string pressure. So most of the time, he doesn't really need assists, but if he has them, he benefits well. So he's one of those characters that you can really put anywhere on the team. If you put him point, he can get in there early, kind of take control of the neutral if he has to. and then build you a lot of meter. If you want to bring him in later, he's very good at spending meter. And then if you end up with him alone, he's definitely good at mounting comebacks. So he's definitely a very flexible character and can fill whatever spot you're currently needing on your team. Next up, another character on a meteoric rise, Mr. Krillin. Hands down, one of the best anchors in the game. It can't even be debated. First of all, he has an absolutely godlike assist. The rocks is broken. If you have the rocks behind a strong, scary anchor, you're gonna win neutral every time. You're gonna force the opponent down onto the ground and make them block your pressure, which is just insane. That same assist can also be used to heal you. It can heal blue life, which is just crazy. When Krillin is in, he has insane solo zoning, insane solo pressure, and insane solo Oki. He's got everything you need. He's got a super that he can just dump up to 7 bars into. His level 3 mix is broken because you can't see anything. He is a super amazing, reliable anchor. There's the only thing about him is he's on the technical end, so you do got to learn a lot with him before he becomes that good. But if you put the time in, he is a character who can carry your entire team. And when it comes down to just Krillin left, you definitely still have a chance of making that comeback. Majin Buu, I would put him as a point character. His entire game plan is highly assist dependent. The entire point of him is to set up resets, and you cannot do that by himself. You need to have assists, so that just goes to say that he is a character that you would want to always, start the match with. He needs very reliable assists. His A assist is pretty good as a defensive assist, or even, just a block stun assist. That's pretty decent block stun, pretty decent hit stun. He's got some good neutral tools with his JH and his JS. His grounded S is great as well. And at the end of the day, he is very hard to block, but you do have to set him up properly with the right team. Next up is Roshi. Roshi I would consider a mid. I would say one of his greatest strengths is how powerful his level 2 is. So if you were to have a good battery up front, the fact that his level 2 is so strong is a good benefit to your team. Even though his B assist isn't as strong as it was, it still has a lot of good uses, especially for block stun. His A assist is also one of the better beams in the game, as it actually causes a wall bounce that you can very easily get combos off of. And then he is a very good cleanup character. If your first character dies early on, he's very good at completely slowing the match down, because the way his super jumps work, it can be pretty hard for the most opponents to deal with. Not to mention the fact that he has, the Thundershock surprise, which, just completely shuts down the opponent's neutral and is very, very hard to deal with. And then his solo pressure options are pretty decent too, because of the fact that he can break up his strings with hops, and he does have a command grab, even though it's a little bit slow. But overall, his stagger game is pretty decent. So I would say Roshi is a pretty solid mid, definitely not one of the best, but given the fact that he can slow the match down and his level 2 is so powerful, I think he fits into this spot better than any other spot. Next up, Lord Nappa. Definitely putting him right there under support. Nappa is one of the ultimate support characters. His entire game plan is under the idea that you are going to build meter for him, and then you are going to get a hit and tag him in so that he can go absolutely crazy. Once that situation is met, you are in a position to win, to put it simply. He is insanely dangerous once he gets his game plan started, and thanks to active tag, it's really not hard for him to get his game started nowadays. Even though his neutral is a bit better than it used to be, thanks to the fact that, Cybermen can be invincible to projectiles, and his actual projectile got buffed against other key blasts, it's still better to let someone else do the heavy lifting and then bring him in once you've got a good amount of meter, or if you just get a raw hit, active tag, bring him in, get the Cybermen going, and it's like that formula is insanely powerful and very hard to stop. On top of that, his A assist is pretty amazing. It's basically, a tracking explosion with really, really high block stun, really, really high hit stun. So just putting Nappa, you know, on your team basically just makes your team much more deadly, especially if you have a very reliable point. Piccolo. Piccolo's very similar to Nappa in the fact that he is there to basically wait for his turn. You want to build up a lot of meter, and then once you get that hit, you're going to bring him in for the Hell Zone extensions. Basically, the nice thing about him is anytime you get a hit with any character, you can almost always Hell Zone extend at the cost of a little bit of extra meter. So he just makes your overall team damage go up. Not to mention his A assist is still incredible. I know a lot of people don't think it's as good anymore because of Labcoat, but I still feel it's one of the best assists in the game due to the fact that it forces some sort of reaction out of the opponent. So having him in the back, you know, buffing your point with that A assist and then just being ready to tack on damage when you get a hit is great. And then not to mention when he's out on the field, he is a really strong character. Great normals, still the best. You know, JL is still the GOAT. Very good mix-up potential, very good staggers, very high damage. He's just a little meter heavy. That's really his only weakness, and then his biggest weakness being that his neutral is a little suspect. But if you are playing him in the support role, meaning that, you know, you're kind of waiting for an active tag, he is definitely worth a spot. Next up, a personal favorite of mine, a trademark of my channel, Super Baby 2. Baby, I believe, is the most flexible character in the game. I usually just call him the team buff character. That's all he does. Like, you pick Baby and he just buffs your team. That's really all he does. His neutral is completely solo. His combo routes are completely solo. His block strings can be completely solo. His Oki can be completely solo. Thanks to the fact that he has access to assist steal, he makes an incredible anchor. Same thing for being a mid. If you get a kill early on and then bring him in so that he can start assist stealing, that's great. But you can also have him be point, and if he has assists behind him to cover his key blasts, he is like an absolute menace at round start just due to the fact of how much stuff he can put on the screen right away. He fits into every single category, so he is, in my opinion, the most flexible character. His A assist is great for block strings and neutral due to the fact that they track, and if the opponent is ducking, one key blast will come back, making it very plus and giving any character corner steals. And then his B assist is the B assist. We all know it, you know, it tracks when it wants to, but it is the best combo assist in the entire game because it brings everyone down to the ground for, you know, optimal combos. So again, Baby is just, you just put him on a team if you're just missing a slot, and no matter really what it is, he basically has synergy with everyone. Next is a character that really needs literally no explanation, so I'm going to keep this very brief, and that is our boy Tenshinhan, the Shotgun Man. I mean, what needs to be said? I mean, he is the other premier anchor other than base Goku. Like, you just look at him and you just know that he's an anchor, you know. Insane damage, solo neutral. He does have solo pressure with the chop and the slide. He has Chaozu assist. He has the shotgun. It's always loaded. He is a definitive neutral. He's one of the first characters in the game to be built. He is a definitive anchor. He's one of the first characters in the game to be built as an anchor. So A assist is what people usually use because it's such a reliable beam. But his B assist Chaozu is really good too because it doesn't suffer from needing the cooldown. Chaozu you can only call 2 times before it'll fail on the 3rd, leaving you vulnerable. But when you call it as an assist, it has no cooldown. And also, little known fact, Chaozu does give you a little bit of meter when you call it. So Tenshinhan, great, solid, easy to use character, and one of the most reliable anchors in the whole game. Trunks, definitely what I would consider a mid. At this point, if you've been watching from the beginning, I'm going to say basically the same thing that I've said about all these characters in this bracket, and that is that he is highly meter dependent. So Trunks can't really do too much when he is low on meter. He is highly dependent on it for his routes and his flip mix. So without meter, you're not using the true potential of the character. But when he has those things, he's definitely very decent. He also has a level 2 DHC, which is rare. It's not very strong, but he does have access to it. Not a lot of characters can level 2 from a DHC, so that's another good reason to have him behind you. And also he has 3 great assists. His A assist, Change the Future, is a great anti-air, also a low block string option for tick throws. B assist is a neutral beam, and C is a very high hitting, very long lasting block stun. So while Trunks does have some problems here and there, I do think he is solid as a mid, and you can build a team around him pretty well as long as the other characters in the other 2 slots, in the point and anchor slot, are pretty strong and they mix with him well. I feel he works very well in that mid slot. Vegeta Blue, definitely a point character. He is a point character for one strong major reason, and that is that his assists are absolutely terrible. They do have their uses. Big Bang can work as a good Oki assist. It does work as a good Oki assist, and it can throw people off in the neutral, and it does stop super dashes. But it's very awkward to use it where you need it, which is a quick extension, block stun, a block string extender, and a combo extender. All the usual places you need your assist to be. The slow speed of it makes it very awkward, and even comboing into it is extremely weird and takes a lot of practice. His B assist is a pretty standard short range lariat type, but it's very plain. It's just not something that you're gonna look to a lot. And then his C assist is just a C assist. It doesn't really do that much either. So due to the fact that his assists are just so like whatever, I would recommend only putting him on point. But that also goes hand in hand with his greatest strength, which is his zoning. His zoning, especially when he has assists behind him, is incredibly effective. I do think he's one of the best zoners in the game. I would say he might be a better zoner than even Freeza. His 5S into Big Bang on hit is very crazy, and then the angle that his 5SS covers is very hard to get around. He's one of those characters that almost forces you to want to super dash, and it's like that plays into his game. Not to mention, with assists behind him, he can get some very good mix-up potential off of his rocket kick. Rocket kick delayed dash into either a low or a mid is very similar to Gogeta Blue. So he has some very good opportunities as long as he can get started, and he can slow the match down really well if he has assists behind him. So as long as he is on point, I am a believer in Vegeta Blue. I actually think he is a very strong character. It's just he doesn't have much benefit to being in the back other than the fact that he has a level 5. SSJ Vegeta. This is probably the weakest character in the game. That is why I would say he is only decent on point, and that is because he is just neutral man. That's really all he is. His only redeeming quality is just that he is pretty good at neutral. You know, he has an air DP, has a good angled fireball, has a good ground fireball, and that's about it. He can get some mix-up off his rocket kick as well, so if he has assists behind him, he has the same rocket kick mix-up as base Vegeta, which people use all the time, so he does have that going for him too. And he also has some good assists. His A assist still works very well. It's a very good defensive assist. And then his B assist is pretty quick, and his C assist is among the best in the game, as it is a tracking invincible DP that hits up very high. So he does have some uses, but he at this moment he is probably the weakest character in the game. That is why I would only recommend, if you play him, to put him on point and put some very powerful characters behind him that can gel well with his playstyle. And then base Vegeta. He's kind of fallen off a bit in people's minds. He used to be considered the best point character. He's probably not the best point anymore, but I still consider him to be one of the best, just due to the fact that as long as you have assists behind him, his neutral is very good. It's almost kind of like a zoning style of neutral. Like his air ki blast can be very pesky. His grounded ki blast is strong. You always have to keep an eye out for rocket kick. His meter build is ridiculous due to the fact that he does have his own loop in the corner. He's one of the only characters to still have he's one of the only characters to still have mid-screen level 3 mix that is very hard to block. He gets a lot of hard to block situations off of assist pressure. He's still pretty much a textbook point character. He's just not the strongest point character in the game anymore. Not to mention his A assist is incredibly reliable if you do have to tag him out. And he has his own power-up super option. If you throw someone off the ground with his OTG, it greatly powers up his super, which is just another reason to have him out in the front to get that powered-up super chain started. Next up, a public enemy, Vegetto. I would put him in the support category, and that is because, similar to some of the other characters in this category, one of the main reasons you're picking him is to take advantage of his assist. His assist is pretty much the best in the game. It's just completely broken, and it makes every character stronger. Not just that, he is an amazing character to active tag into, as well as set it up. He has access to a level 4. He has great post level 3 mix, like left-right, as long as you have an extra bar to spend after it. And then if he does actually end up having to come in and play, his neutral, block strings, and Oki are all insanely strong. He's just, one of the best characters in the game, and just putting him on any team instantly makes that team into a massive threat. Next up, Videl. Videl I consider to be one of the better anchors in the game. She is one of those characters that checks off every anchor box. She has amazing solo neutral, amazing solo pressure, very high meter build, and very good defensive options. In terms of her solo neutral, Saiyaman is very, very fast. He beats Super Dash and he beats Ki Blast, so it's hard for a lot of characters to stop her from simply just calling Saiyaman. Not to mention her solo pressure. She has, a 2L low, she has very good buttons, she has a Rekka that sets up a built-in mix-up of where you have to stand up to block the second part of it, but that sets you up to get command grabbed, and her command grab is very, very fast, sets up for combo, sets up for super. She can level 1 into level 3 off of her own super. She can do everything she needs to by herself. Not to mention her A assist is a very decent lariat. Her B assist gives everyone mix, and then her C assist, similar to SSJ Vegeta, is a tracking uppercut, which is probably the one that I would recommend the most. I mean, it is a very, very powerful assist that goes through everything. So she is a super reliable character to put into that anchor position, because technically, since she has her own built-in assist through Saiyaman, she's never actually alone. Next is Lord Yamcha, also designed to be one of the game's textbook anchors. He's just a character that, of course, you just want in the back, because you're going to want to utilize his assist, whether it's that beam or, the godlike Wolfang Fist assist. He has built-in solo pressure because of the way his buttons are set up. His buttons have plus frames, he has multiple buttons that are 0 on block, he has lunging buttons, he has buttons with gaps in them. All his buttons are designed to counter hit people just by being close without even having to use assists. Obviously, he also has the left-right Wolfang Fist, his 5H. He's just got so many options. His dive kick is very, very good now, and he actually gets very good solo damage now, thanks to the fact that his routes finally got buffed. Even if he's alone, he gets a lot of damage. And of course, he has the trademark level 1 into level 3, making him a super reliable anchor even this late into the game. Next up, another buddy of mine, and that is Lord Zamasu. Zamasu, I think, is a great mid character, and that is due to the fact of, much like the others, he is highly meter dependent. But once you build up just a little bit of meter, he can really do everything. Zamasu, though, I will say, can be an anchor as long as you have meter, and can be a point character. I just personally believe that he's most effective mid, because once you bring him in, he has access to incredible mix-up opportunities, really crazy neutral, really crazy Oki, insane, some of the highest damage in the game, basically everything. Once he has meter, he is legitimately one of the most threatening characters in the entire game. So in my opinion, it's best to have a point character build up some bar for you and then bring him in and just have him just, you know, spend as much meter as you need, and that will almost always get the job done. For him, I recommend his A assist because I believe it's one of the best assists in the game. It's a beam that hits up really high, very easy to combo off of, very easy to convert off of, and he is a super reliable and super strong character in the current build. Gogeta 4. This is a character that is a bit tricky, but I would consider him a point character. He's a point character because he is pretty highly assist dependent. Even though he has the double air dash, there's really not a lot going on in his neutral. He's really just either double air dashing or fishing for the gut punch. So his neutral, since he lacks ki blasts and beams, his neutral is just dependent on assists. But once he gets in, that's where his game really shines, because he has a pretty fast command grab. He has a built-in high-low. He has built-in plus frames. And with assists, his mix-up potential is very high. He also has a great post-level 3 mix-up. And then on top of all of that, he has his whole entire level-up system. The whole idea of his character is that you want to build him up to level 7, and there are a lot of different team builds. Usually people will put him with, you know, 16 or Janemba. That way you can get a hit, call an assist, get a couple of level ups, and then continue the combo, and then slowly build your way to level 7. So the fact that he builds so much meter, does so much damage, is an insane threat from up close but needs help to get close, I think makes him basically a textbook point character. The assist you use with them is dependent on what you're looking for. A, builds meter. B is the, you know, anti-projectile gut punch. That really is up to what you're looking for on your team, but both are really good options. You can even choose the C if you want to. Although it has very limited range, it is an uppercut, and it does give you a free Dragon Ball every time. And lastly, Labcoat 21. Well, and that's going to bring us to the end of the guide. Now you should have all the information you need to build yourself a great, strong team in this game. And once you got your team picked out, all that's left is to practice and to lab. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks so much for listening. Don't forget to hit the like if you found this helpful. Subscribe so you don't miss the next guide, and I will catch you fellas next time. Peace.